we have another user that is joining us by telephone. If they could just please introduce themselves.
I'm not sure if I'm unmuted, but this is Christy Hathcock, just joining to listen.
Okay. Thank you, Christy.
Well, I think it's 9:02. So Harrison and Jacqueline, since you're my tech advisors, do you think we ought to have a grace period for this first time, or do we think we ought to move forward?
I'll defer to you. I think with my WebEx overview is kind of a good buffer times for people to file and not miss anything. So yeah, I think we can begin. And
okay, perfect. Well, I think everybody knows that this is the July special meeting that you've joined for the Tennessee Historical Commission. Before we move on to some announcements, I have another famous quote for us, is that change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. And that's by John F. Kennedy, and I feel like we're sort of at that moment with moving forward to the virtual world. And with our new introduction to WebEx, I want to introduce several of you joining, have heard their voices, but I would like to introduce Harrison Freeman, who's done a wonderful job for us, and Jacqueline Matupe. Did I get it right, Jacqueline?
Matupe, yes, very close.
Matupe. Sorry, I wrote it down phonetically. And prior to the meeting, since it's our first WebEx meeting, we have asked, both of them are with TDEC, and Jacqueline's going to be going over some technical information for those of us online and calling in. So we're just going to have WebEx tutorial 101 so that we can do all this to conform also with Tennessee Code annotated electronic meetings too. So at this point, I will turn this brief period of our tutorial over to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Williams. And like she said, it'll be about a 5-minute overview of just how to operate WebEx. So to ensure a smooth meeting. So like she said, my name is Jacqueline Matupe. I'm with the Office of External Affairs with Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation, TDEC, and I'll serve as the moderator this morning for the comment period after the board meeting. So please note, in accordance with the current state of emergency and state and federal directives and guidance to avoid social and recreational public gatherings of 50 or more people and to practice social distancing, the Tennessee Historical Commission is holding this public meeting via video teleconference. Today's online meeting is presented in 2 parts. First, the board meeting and a comment period after that. If participants may call Claudette Stacker at 615-770-1089 at any time during this meeting if they're having difficulties, and she'd be happy to help you. There are 3 ways to join today's meeting: via computer, Cisco WebEx meeting app, or by the phone. Over the next few slides, I'll go over how to join WebEx meeting using each platform. At this point, if you're having difficulties, please call Claudette at 615-770-1089. You can also call the toll-free number 415-655-0003 with the access code 161-252-8456. So to join by computer, you can go to the Tennessee Historical Commission's website. I'm going to read that complete link for the public notice for this meeting, which is tn.gov/board/and-tennessee-historical-commission.html. And after going to that link, you would again enter the access code, which is 161-252-8456, and then enter the password, which is case sensitive, all caps THC Summer 2020. On the next screen, you will find, you need to enter your full name and email address, and then click the green Join Meeting button. You are now connected, and note that your name will appear to the right sidebar under Participants. To join the WebEx Meeting app, install the Cisco WebEx Meeting app from your App Store. This app is available on iPhone and Android. And once the app is installed and open, click the green Join Meeting button. You would then enter the meeting number, which again is 161-252-8456. Enter your full name and email address. You would then enter the password, which is THC Summer 2020, case sensitive, and you're connected. The WebEx will look similar to the example on the presentation. Now I will go over the WebEx options located towards the bottom of the screen. Starting from left to right, you have the mute icon, the webcam icon, share content, record, participants, chat with all, more options, and end leave. Note that some options may be disabled by the host. On the app options, if you select the More Options button, you can use the Turn Off Speaker button to switch to talking through your phone rather than through your speaker. This will allow participants to hear you better. Again, some WebEx options may be disabled by the host. To reduce background noise, participants will be muted upon joining the WebEx, and for phone calls, you will be able to mute and unmute yourself if you are muted by pressing *6. For phone WebEx apps, speak by unmuting and muting the microphone button. For computers, you can talk using the computer's microphone and speaker system and using the microphone button on WebEx application. If your computer does not have a microphone and speaker system, you may view the materials on the computer, but call in or join via the app to speak. At designated times during the public meeting, participants will be given the opportunity to comment after the board meeting. During this time, you may unmute your device to speak. Please remute yourself after speaking, and the host can also mute and unmute participants. If participants are disruptive, you may be remuted by the host or removed from WebEx. The red microphone button means you are muted, and the black microphone means everyone can hear you. That concludes our WebEx overview. Vice Chair Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you so much for all that information. At this time, I've already said good morning to everybody, but I'll say good morning again to our first virtual meeting, and we're going to make it through this because if the Supreme Court and everybody else can do it, I'm sure we can also. I would like to call the meeting to order at this point. I don't have I guess that would serve as a gavel. I am Dorita Coleman Williams, the Vice Chair for West Tennessee. This is, as many and most of you know, this is our first meeting since the death of our chairman, Dr. Revis Mitchell. We've all shared in the past few weeks many thoughts about him that are very personal to each one of us. But also, I want to extend our thoughts and prayers our thoughts and prayers have been with him and his family. And I hope everybody, speaking of his family, had an opportunity to read the wonderful article in the Tennessean, because we all knew him as a gentleman and a scholar, but he was also such a family man. And it was very touching to read that article and to see those wonderful photographs of Revis with his family. We will have a memorial resolution on the agenda later in the meeting, but at this time, I would simply like for us to have a moment of silence in memory of Revis, Dr. Revis Mitchell. Thank you, everyone. Also, we have some exciting news today. We have new members to the commission, and I think I saw that they are signed in. First, I want to there are 3 new members to the commission. The first, I want to welcome the state archaeologist, Phil Hodge, who actually started his position in April. He was formerly with TDOT and has over 20 years experience. This is not required, but Phil, I don't know. I think you're by phone maybe. If you would like to say anything, you're welcome to say something at this time if you would like to.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be a part of the commission and looking forward to working with you all going forward. I know we have a range of issues to deal with this morning, but just want to say right now, thanks for welcoming me, and I'm glad to be a part of the commission.
Well, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here today. Next, I would like to welcome Ms. Doris McMillan of Franklin, Tennessee. I think Doris may be joining us by phone is what I saw, but Doris McMillan is from Franklin. She has been a very strong youth advocate, entrepreneur, and community volunteer. She has been an active supporter of the historic McLemore House in Franklin, and she has worked with country music icons and other stars from Beyonce to Lady Gaga. So we're really excited that Doris is going to have some great things to contribute. We're so excited to read about some of her background. And Doris, welcome to the commission. We're so glad to have you today. And if you would like to say something, we would welcome your comments.
Good morning. I thank you for having me, but I think all the other fluff doesn't equate to serving my community and loving people well. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Doris, I saw that you have a lot of community involvement, and it was outstanding.
Thank you.
Welcome, and we look forward to giving you a warm welcome in person soon. The next member that I would like to introduce is a fellow West Tennessean, and he is Cato Johnson of Memphis. And Mr. Johnson is on with us today also. Mr. Johnson is the Chief of Staff at Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. He is on the President's Council for Lamoille College. He is on the Memphis and Shelby County Public Building Authority. He is also on numerous athletic boards and involvement at the sports level, which is always, we like new dimensions for people on our commission. He has also been very active in legislative affairs for more than 20 years. Welcome, Mr. Johnson. We're so glad to have you here and would love to have you say some words if you would like to.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
We absolutely can.
Well, thank you. And I'm very honored to be a part of this. And I'm particularly honored to serve with my good friend, Keith Norman, who grew up in the same neighborhood with me, who's much older than I am, 20 years. And my other good friend, Beverly Robinson, who I've known forever. And you also a fellow West Tennessean. But I'm very honored to be a part of this group. And thank you for welcoming me, and I look forward to serving.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We're so happy to have you. And again, we welcome the day when we can graciously welcome all of you to our commission in person.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to proceed with to the public or anybody that is joining us. As we know, there's much conversation in the news, local, national, regarding monuments and statues. And I want to let everyone listening and watching today that there are no pending waiver requests to the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act submitted upon discussion of the amendment on the commission's agenda for today. Most of you, even the people that are joining in, the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act outlines a very specific process that must be followed, and each request must be considered separately. So I just wanted to let everyone know that was not on our agenda today. The commission is turning a real, we're now 101 years old. We've had a current streak of regular meetings going back for over 80 years to April the 18th, 1940, when Governor Prentice Cooper personally convened the meeting in his office. Today, for the first time ever, and unfortunately, we would like for it to be the last, but I'm not sure that's going to be the case. We are holding the regular meeting or the special meeting today of the commission via remote means due to COVID-19. At this time, I need to go over a couple of procedural matters. I think a lot of this was covered by Jacqueline, but first of all votes today will be conducted by roll call according to the Tennessee Code annotated for electronic meetings. We will pause for a while just in case we're all working with mute and unmuting buttons, but we're going to perfect this. I would also like to emphasize to our commission members and then with the public when you speak that you need to say your name before you speak. Also, as Jacqueline told us, if you will keep your audio muted unless you are speaking, it's helpful to background noise. Also, public comments will be at the end of today's agenda, and the names will be called in the order that they were received to our office. The public will have 3 minutes to speak, and I think at that time, Jacqueline is going to go over. She is going to time it and announce a minute before the end. So those are just some housekeeping rules, and it sounds like everybody's muted. It's such a quiet meeting. I can't believe it. At this time, I would like to recognize Ashley Pierce, who has done an outstanding job in coordinating our efforts to move to the virtual world. Thank you, Ashley. And if you will do the roll call, please.
Okay, thank you, Dorita. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Ernie Bacon.
Ernie Bacon is present.
Thank you. Mrs. Beth Campbell. Mrs. Beth Campbell.
Beth Campbell is present.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Carter. Mr. Alan Carter.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Alan Carter's
Yes.
here.
Okay, Dr. Douglas Couple. Dr. Douglas Couple.
Doug Couples here.
Thank you. Dr. Kent Dollar.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Sam Elliott.
Virtually present.
Thank you. Mr. Jeremy Harrell. Mr. Jeremy Harrell. Okay, not present. Mrs. Lonnie Harris.
Lonnie Harris is present.
Thank you. Mr. Toy Heath. Mr. Toy Heath.
Here.
Thank you, Toy. Mr. Cato Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Mrs. Tiny Jones. Mrs. Tiny Jones. Present. Thank you. Mrs. Lucy Lee.
Lucy is here.
Thank you. Dr. Bill Lyons.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Doris McMillan. Ms. Doris McMillan.
Present.
Thank you. Mrs. Linda Moss-Mines.
Linda is here.
Thank you. Mrs. Joanne Moore. Thank you. Dr. Keith Norman.
Keith Norman is present.
Thank you. Mrs. Beverly Robertson.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Don Rowe. Mr. Don Rowe is absent. Mr. Ray Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Joseph Swan. Mr. Joseph Swan.
Present.
Thank you. Judge David Tipton. Judge David Tipton. Absent. Mrs. Dorita Coleman Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly Wolf.
Kelly Wolf is present.
Thank you. Mr. Gerald Parrish. Mr. Gerald Parrish.
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Don Johnson. Mr. Don Johnson.
Don Johnson, present.
Thank you. Mr. Phil Hodge.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Chuck Sherrill.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Carol Van West.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. We have a great attendance today. I don't think I need to ask if we have a quorum. I couldn't hear you, Ashley. Do you need to say that again? Well, this is one, thank you, everybody. This is a record attendance. I think we're doing great in our new virtual world. The next thing on the agenda are the minutes. And if you've had an opportunity, all the commissioners received a copy of the minutes to approve today, and they need to be approved separately. The first item that we need the approval of is the February the 21st meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the February the 21st, 2020 minutes?
This is Sam Elliott. I move to approve.
Lonnie Harris, second.
I did have a call in that there was from Joanne Moore that there was something that she had a concern over. I don't know, Harrison, if you're still there, is Joanne still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Joanne, would you like to go ahead? Was it the February the 21st meeting that those minutes?
Yes, I do. These are additions to the minutes, and they would be found. My comments concern the merit awards, which are found on pages 7 and 8 of those February 21st minutes. And my comments are, the additions are, in the discussion of the three men, Lee Miller, Alan Doyle, and Mike Cross, being nominated for the Special Commendation Award for saving 3 statues in Memphis. The names of the statues, to me, are very important and relevant to why they were nominated and awarded this. And the 3 statues that they were successful in saving and preserving are the Monument of General Forrest, the statue of President Jefferson Davis, and the bust of Captain Harvey Massett. And then, too, there is another addition to the minutes. In the discussion about the award, none of my comments that I made at that meeting about Memphis were included in the minutes. And so, to sum them up, I would like this statement to be included in the minutes. Commissioner Moore was very critical of Memphis's roles in taking down the statues. That concludes my my comments about the minutes, Commissioner Chairman.
Is there any other discussion on the February the 21st meeting minutes or additions? So if everyone
Since they are technically
right,
since they are technically accurate, I'll accept those amendments.
okay. So do we have a second again with moving forward?
Lonnie Harris, second.
Thank you. Now, in each thing, as we said, we have to do a roll call vote because we're meeting electronically. So I guess Ashley.
Yes, okay. When I call your name, please say yes or no. Ernie Bacon?
Yes.
Yes, Ernie Bacon, yes. Beth Campbell? Beth Campbell?
Yes.
Beth Campbell, yes. Alan Carter?
Yes.
Alan Carter, yes. Dr. Doug Huckle? Dr. Doug Huckle?
Doug Couples, yes.
Dr. Ken Dottler?
Yes.
Dr. Ken Dottler, yes. Sam Elliott?
Yes.
Elliott, yes. Lonnie Harris?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Toy Heath? Toy Heath? Toy Heath?
Yes.
Cato Johnson?
Yes.
Honey Jones?
Yes.
Lucy Lee?
Yes.
William Lyons?
Yes.
Doris McMillan? Doris McMillan?
Yes.
Linda Moss Mines?
Linda Moss Mines abstaining due to my absence.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Mines is abstaining due to the fact that I was unable to attend that meeting.
Thank you. Joanne Cullen Moore? Joanne Cullen Moore?
Yes.
Keith Norman?
Abstain.
Beverly Robertson?
Abstain.
Ray Smith?
Yes.
Joe Swan? Joe Swan?
Yes.
Judge David Tipton? Sarita Coleman Williams?
Yes.
Kelly Wolf? Kelly Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Don Johnson?
Yes.
Mike Moore? Mike Moore? I'm sorry. Bill Hodge, I apologize. I did not get that corrected on my sheet when I fixed it. Apologize. Bill Hodge?
Abstain.
Thank you. Gerald Parrish? Gerald Parrish. Gerald Parrish. Did we lose you? We may have lost him. All right, Chuck Sherrill.
Yes.
Abstain.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
This
Was that-
Chuck Sherrill is yes.
Thank you. Dr. Carol Van West.
Abstain.
Thank you. And am I correct that Gerald Parrish got lost, or we still have him?
Ashley?
Yes, sir.
Ashley?
Yes, sir. Gerald?
Hello?
Hello, I see you now.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
Got it. Okay, fine. This is going to be fun. Thank you all.
Madam Chair, I would like to, this is Cato Johnson. I would like to change my vote to abstain since I was not at that meeting because I was not in the body at that time.
Okay, that's noted. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The second item we have are the approval of the minute meetings from March the 27th, special meeting by phone. Please note that there was a typo on the earlier document that had this as March the 18th, but the meeting was March the 27th. I now need another motion to approve. Well, I need a motion if there is not any discussion about those minutes.
This is Sam Elliott. I move to approve with the correction.
Linda Moss Mines, second.
Okay, Ashley, we get to do that roll call again. We're going to speed up this process pretty soon with roll call, aren't we?
Yes, hopefully. Thank you. Okay. Ernie Bacon?
Ernie votes yes.
Beth Campbell?
Beth Campbell votes yes.
Alan Carter? Alan Carter? Alan Carter? We hear you unmuting, but I don't hear the answer. Sorry. You might need to wait a second before you can reply when you unmute.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Doug Couple?
Doug Couples, yes.
Dr. Kent Dollar?
Yes.
Sam Elliott?
Yes.
Lonnie Harris?
Yes.
Troy Heath? Troy Heath?
Yes.
Cato Johnson?
Abstain as I was not a part of the body at that time.
Thank you. Honey Jones?
Yes.
Lucy Lee?
Yes.
William Lonnie? William Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Doris McMillan?
Yes.
Linda Moss Mines?
Mines, yes.
Joanne Cullen Moore? Joanne Cullen Moore?
Yes.
Keith Norman?
Abstain.
Beverly Robertson? Beverly Robertson?
Oh. And actually, I shouldn't have abstained from the last one because I was at the 22nd meeting. So don't worry about changing it, but I'm good.
Okay, and then for this one?
I have to abstain on this one. I didn't go to that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Ray Smith?
Yes.
Jess Swan, Jess Swan,
Yes.
Zarita Coleman Williams,
Yes.
Kelly Wolf,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Bill Hodge, Bill Hodge,
Abstain?
Gerald Parrish,
Yes. Yes.
Chuck Sherrill,
Abstain.
and Dr. Carol Van West.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Next on our agenda is the Finance Committee. We had the financial statement from the July 1st, 2019 to April 2020. And at this time, I would like to ask Beth Campbell, the Finance Committee Chair, to give us a report, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can.
Everyone should have a report in their package. I'm going to $69,572.40. So with that, I would submit this financial report for, I guess we need to make a motion to accept it and then I guess have discussion about it. So I move that we accept this report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now who, that was by Ernie Bacon. Okay. Is there any discussion on the budget? No discussion? At this time, then we need another roll call vote. Ashley?
Okay. Ernie Bacon,
Ernie votes yes.
Beth Campbell,
Yes, I vote yes.
Alan Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Doug Couples, Dr. Doug Couples,
Couples, yes.
Dr. Kent Dollar,
Yes.
Sam Elliott,
Yes.
Lonnie Harris, Lonnie Harris,
Yes.
Toy He,
Yes.
Cato Johnson,
Yes.
Tiny Jones,
Yes.
Lucy Lee,
Yes.
William Lyons,
Yes.
Doris McMillan,
Yes.
Doris McMillan,
Did you hear that,
Linda-
Ashley? She said yes.
yes,
Okay.
got it. Linda Moss Mines,
Linda votes yes.
Julianne Cullen Moore,
Yes.
Keith Norman,
Yes.
Beverly Robertson,
Yes.
Ray Smith,
Yes.
Joe Swan, Joe Swan,
Yes.
Dorita Coleman Williams,
Yes.
Kelly Wolf, Kelly Wolf,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Bill Hodge,
Yes.
Bill Hodge, okay,
Yes.
Gerald Parrish, Gerald Parrish,
Yes.
Chuck Sherrill,
Yes.
and Dr. Carol Van West.
Yes.
At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Patrick. Patrick, I don't think we've seen your wonderful face this morning to talk to us, and we're looking forward to hearing the update for the budget for this coming fiscal year.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. And I guess you can see about half of my face anyway, because of course we are in a state building. I'm trying to stay 6 feet away from Ashley, but and everybody else in here. But the three of us in the room are all masked up, and I apologize that unlike you in your living rooms, that we can't be unmasked. So I hope you can hear me through this. I did want to report just a little bit on FY 2021. That sounds like it's so in the future, but it's here. And we're in it. But when we met in February, I had a lot of good news to share because the governor's budget was out and the legislature was working on it. And there were so many good things in store for us, including something we've been working on for years, which is getting at least a second person in our historic sites program finally to look after 17 sites and 110 buildings. That had been included in the budget. But as we all know, shortly thereafter, COVID kicked in, and ever since then, the budget's gotten bleaker, and finally there was a one budget passed before the General Assembly adjourned that stripped out most of the good things I was talking about, including that position and some of the capital projects that Dan will talk about later. But we're looking at a 12% budget cut probably across the board. It will have a slightly larger impact, or a larger impact on our maintenance fund in historic sites, but certainly there's elements of the budget that you all will be approving today that probably will be then, there'll be a 12% holdback on those internally, or it'll be reflected in new grant contracts to the sites that will go out that will reflect those 12% cuts. But at this time, it's always interesting because the summer meeting is when we approve elements of the budget, but you won't approve the full budget until October. And I expect by that time we'll have a much better sense of everything, and I can elaborate further. But most of the exciting things, there's some exciting things are still here, by the way. But a lot of that, unfortunately, we are all in a time of extraordinary unknowns and belt tightening, and I probably could go on and on about it, but I think we all experience this every day. This office has not really been open in a normal fashion since mid-March, and so I know sometimes we get calls, and we often get calls, but just keep in mind that this is still an unusual circumstance. But I want to say one thing is I have such incredible staff. They've all worked really hard to adjust to the remote working, and in some cases it hastened our transition. I might mention now to some electronic submittals for our Section 106 reports, for example, and people are just doing amazing things and keeping their attitudes and their workload just right on track. So, but I miss everybody. I miss seeing you all. It's great to see you virtually, but it's no substitute. And so I hope we all do get together in person at some point. But until then, we're going to keep learning through technology. But having said that, since I hadn't spoken yet this morning, I probably said more than I should for this section. But hello, and we'll continue chatting, and I'll turn the meeting back over. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Patrick, and we really should commend. I know that all of us are adjusting to working remotely, but really want to give a thank you to the staff because they have gone above and beyond during this period, adjusting like most workplaces have had to do. At this time, I would like to ask Toy Heap to submit the annual grants for the Historical Society Publications grants and for the presidential paper projects and report on the book award. And we are going to vote on the publications grant and the presidential papers together in a motion. So if you, so that will help a little bit with this. So we don't have to do, we'll put those, Toy, we're going to put the publications together, so we'll have one vote. So Toy, I'll turn it over to you, and you can give us your report for the Publications Committee.
Okay, I have to apologize. I don't have the information for the presidential grants. Patrick did email me a couple of days ago and asked me if I had the information. I just discovered that I had a problem with my email just before the meeting started, so he didn't get my reply. So what should we do about that? Do you have that information, Patrick?
I don't have it. Patrick?
Are we live? Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. You have to be unmuted again. And the presidential papers is embedded under the line 4, University of Tennessee, $3,190. That's the only presidential papers grant that's going on now. That's it.
We can't hear you.
Toy, you're muted. There.
How's that? Okay, for fiscal year 2020, 2021, the Tennessee Historical Commission is awarded the East Tennessee Historical Society $14,415.18. The Tennessee Historical Society $57,663.89. The West Tennessee Historical Society $14,415.18. The University of Tennessee $3,190, and the Tennessee Library Association $150. I make a motion that we accept the grants.
Is there a second? Excuse me.
Beverly Robertson, second.
Is there any discussion? Then this requires another roll call vote.
Rita, this is Ernie. I have a question.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ernie.
Relative to the presidential papers, we don't have any information on it other than the verbal report. And I question our taking action on that at this time.
I'm having a little trouble. Say that again, Ernie. I was having trouble understanding you.
Not having any prior information relative to presidential. I'm concerned about moving ahead with action on that item at this time.
Ernie, your information on presidential papers is item 4 in the publication grants. For my entire tenure, these have been broken out as 2 grant programs, as 2 line items, but they have been included this year, I guess, because the papers of President Polk are now complete. We have only Andrew Jackson. And so that's to the University of Tennessee for the Andrew Jackson papers. It's item 4, $3,190 under item D1.
I appreciate that clarification. So there's no additional funds involved.
No,
There
sir.
are no additional funds involved for that paper.
Thank you. I appreciate
Andrew Johnson was done a long time ago. He didn't leave very many papers. But Polk, that's a pretty significant thing that President Polk's papers just wrapped up in the past year, I believe. And then Andrew Jackson, who knows if they'll ever finish with him. But I'm sorry if that was ambiguous. It caught me as well, but it's contained within D1 in your submittal. Thank you.
Ashley, at this time, we need a roll call vote. We have
Okay. Sorry, I'm taking us off video just because it's saved on our bandwidth here, so I can keep going. So, all right. So Arnie Bacon.
Yes.
Beth Campbell.
Yes.
Alan Carter.
Yes. Yes.
Doug Couple. Doug Couple.
Couples, yes.
Thank you. Kent Dolan.
Yes.
Tim Elliott.
Yes.
Lonnie Harris.
Yes.
Toy Heath.
Yes.
Cato Johnson.
Yes.
Tony Jones.
Yes.
Lucy Lee.
Yes.
William Lyons.
Yes.
Doris McMillan.
Yes.
Linda Moss-Mines.
Yes.
Joanne Cullen Moore.
Yes.
Keith Norman.
Yes.
Beverly Robinson.
Yes.
Ray Smith.
Yes.
Joe Swan.
Yes.
Joe Swan.
Yes.
Rita Coleman Williams. Sarita Coleman Williams.
Sorry, now that I didn't do the unmute, excuse me, I'm abstaining since I am on the board of the Tennessee Historical Society.
Okay, thank you. Kelly Wolf. Kelly Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. Don Johnson.
Yes.
Joe Hodge.
Yes.
Cheryl Parrish. Gerald Parrish.
Yes.
Chuck Sherrill.
I'll abstain. I'm on 2 of the affected boards.
Thank you. Carol Van West.
Yes.
Thank you again, Ashley. When they ask how long the meeting would approximately take, the next time I'll be able to answer that after figuring out how long roll calls take, Ashley. The next thing I would like.
Hello. Ashley, this is Jeremy Harrell. I apologize for being tardy, but I am here.
Oh, great, Jeremy. Thank you for joining us. Ashley, did you hear that?
Oh, Jeremy, did you just come in?
Yes.
Yes, but I was here for the discussion and not vote.
You were here for the discussion of the
previous discussion just now that you were voting on.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
We're now at, on your agenda at E1. I will now, the Historic Sites Committee, I would like to recognize Dan Brown to give us a few highlights on the Tennessee Historic Sites and where they are with our new unprecedented pivotal time with historic sites. Dan.
Good morning.
Is Dan there?
Yes, here I am. Can you hear me?
I can. We can't see your
good.
smiling face, though.
I've got my big construction mask on. That tells me I look like Marmaduke.
Okay.
But during the pandemic, of course, the governor's office determined that construction activities were essential services. So we have been exceedingly busy. Nothing has slowed down at all. We closed out 3 capital projects here in the spring: the Hallbrook Window Project, historic Hallbrook Window Project for about $330,000, the historic Craig Font Barn for about $400,000, and the Marble Springs improvements to the historic site there for about $400,000. The Alex Haley project, which is for their visitor center and for their museum and for the Alex Haley grave site, about $500,000 is substantially complete, and we'll be completing that in the next few weeks.
And Dan, may I interrupt? May I interrupt there and just say for new commission members and people that are joining us is that we had planned on our meeting occurring in Hennings, and we would have been there to visit this site had the pandemic not occurred. And so I just want to say that we're sorry we're not at that Alex Haley site in person. Go ahead, Dan.
Alex Haley home looks, we did work with interior and exterior, and porches and everything. So it's been exceptional. And again, we're making some important improvements and stabilization of the grave site there.
Wonderful.
The Tipton Haynes, thank you. The Tipton Haynes project kicked off on June 30th. It's a $750,000 project addressing 10 historic buildings on the site there. It'll be completed in the spring of 2021. In addition to all of our capital projects, we had storms, as you know, in the recent past here across the state. We had approximately 30 trees down at 5 different sites. We lost 5 roofs at the historic Borough mine site. And so we've been working with risk management and tree crews and other construction crews trying to stabilize these areas and get these trees all cleaned up. And here at our headquarters, we lost some massive trees at the cemetery that you may have seen online, the work that we did trying to stabilize all that. So we've been exceedingly busy with that. And of course, the pandemic has absolutely wreaked havoc at our historic site. They've been unable to host events. They've been unable to have their summer camps. A few have been able, in very limited circumstances, following all guidelines, have been able to do some events and weddings and camps. So they're responding very strongly. At the same time, they're obviously struggling. So we're working very close with them, and we've been communicating with them for informational grants, different ideas of how to keep their sites going, proper ways to, prepare, clean the sites, and et cetera, and et cetera. So we've been exceedingly busy communicating with our sites and back and forth. I've even had a couple of communications while I've been here about stuff going on. We've also, in addition to all this, got a dozen or so maintenance projects going on around the state, various things with HVAC and roofing, et cetera, with that. Fortunately, out of the budget, we were able to get 3 capital projects. The Borough mine site is phase 3 of 3 different projects. It has been funded for $5 million. It will complete all of the work at the historic Borough site down in Ducktown. The Chester Inn was granted a $780,000 grant to complete, again, all of the historic repairs and stabilization to the facade and the porches. And then at Hallbrook Hotel, an important grant there to replace failing HVAC units that are obsolete now, and then also to do essential repairs to the mortar in the attic there at Hallbrook Hotel. We did lose in what was originally approved in January and February for Rock Castle, a $7 million project, was unfortunately had to be canceled for budgetary reasons, and it is our priority project for the next fiscal year. So that hopefully gives you some idea. been able to, travel across the state, been exceedingly busy running back and forth across the state with these projects and repairs and storm damage. And then the new capital projects will begin kicking off in September, and we'll begin, retaining architects and starting our design work and heading into construction for the fall. So that should basically outline what we've been working on, and we've got a very busy season in front of us. And again, as essential services, we are fortunately not slowing down at all, and getting very important stabilization and rehabilitation work done at the historic site.
Are most of the historic sites open at this time, Dan?
Yes, yes, they are. I have a couple of small sites that are on very limited, the Sparta Rock House, and then Sam Houston home, are much smaller sites, and they've had some limited openings. But all the sites have been able to be open and have been able to, in limited circumstances, conduct their business and special events in certain situations. It has been a real struggle, and it has been very challenging to all of them. And again, we've been working very close with them and communicating with them as much as we can to try to assist them and give them advice and help them with their grants and help them with their loans, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Wonderful. At this time, you have, Dan, I don't know if you want to say anything about it. We have E3 in your packet, the annual operating grants to the historic sites.
Yes, that is, I think in the packets here, and those are the grants that were funded for the current fiscal year.
Okay, those have been provided to all the commission members. We need a motion to approve the annual operating grants to the historic sites.
So
moved.
Okay, Ash.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ashley, run through that list again for roll call vote.
I did have a discussion item, but I'll do it after the roll call. It's not going to affect my vote.
Well, why don't we, Keith, why don't we do it now? Please do it now.
I'd just like to commend the report, first of all, on all of the sites. I think as we move forward, one of the things that our state and our local municipalities are moving forward to do through various chambers and other entities are to always make sure that when RFPs and RFQs go forward, that there are minority participation parts of these budgets included. This is a huge sum that we tend to use, and it should reflect some effort to bring in individuals who live in our state to participate in the economic flow. That would be my recommendation.
May I
Dan?
respond?
Yes, Dan, do you have a comment about that?
We're all of the bidding and all of the work at all these state historic sites is regulated 100% by the state purchasing requirements. All of our capital projects are funneled through state real estate asset management. In other words, we don't bid those directly from our office. They go through general services and stream, okay, and that happens with all of the maintenance projects out of our 32718 fund. All of those projects are dealt with under state vendors that are under state contract that do bidding every 4 years. So we're limited as to who we can use for that. We have little to no discretion internally, and of course, any and all pricing, bidding, et cetera, goes through all state processes, state procedures, and state procurement offices. So, which are all heavily adhering to minority participation and all state guidelines and encouragements for that. So that is dealt with very thoroughly through the state process and procurement processes.
Okay, Keith, do you have any other comments or questions regarding that?
That was very appropriate, and thank you very much.
Oh, Linda.
Okay,
Linda, are you wanting to comment?
Add that,
Okay. Linda, will you introduce
wanna add
yourself
that-
Linda, will you introduce yourself?
Linda Wynn.
We have some new commission members, Linda, and they don't know your smiling face. Thank
They
you.
can't see it with this mask.
We can see your
I
eyes.
I just wanted to add that all of our sites have to adhere to Title VI, which is under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So all of that is covered, to Chief Smith.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. So
Madam
there,
Chairman, thank you. That was excellent information for a new member. Thank you.
and we do kind of, Mr. Johnson, throw you into the deep end of the pool at your first meeting to see if you can swim or not. But hopefully we will have an orientation for some new members so that it's helpful to some of this, because it is a lot at your first meeting. We've all
Thank you.
somewhat experienced that. So hopefully we'll provide some other information to you soon.
No problem.
But please speak up. We'd love your questions if you have any. So if there's no other discussion, the motion has been made and seconded, and Ashley gets to do her roll call again.
Okay, great. And who motion seconded again?
Who made the motion?
This is Lonnie Harris. Ernie and I both.
Okay, Ernie, Lonnie, you made the motion and Ernie seconded the motion?
If that's okay with Ernie, I think.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you for your assistance. It's just,
Okay. Ernie Bacon,
Yes.
Beth Campbell,
Yes.
Ellen Carter,
Yes. Yes.
Zach Couple,
Yes. Couples, yes.
Ken Dollar,
Yes.
thank you, Sam Elliott,
Yes.
Lonnie Harris,
Yes.
Twiggy,
Yes. Yes.
thank you, Dale Johnson,
Yes.
Connie Jones, Connie Jones,
Yes.
Lucy Lee,
Yes.
William Lyons,
Yes.
Doris McMillan, Doris McMillan,
Yes, I'm sort of like the worst at unmuting, right, today?
we're all having an adjustment. So welcome to our new world.
Linda Moss Mine,
Yes.
Joanne Cullen Moore,
Yes.
Keith Norman,
Yes.
Beverly Robertson, Beverly Robertson,
Yes.
thank you. Ray Smith,
Yes.
Joe Swan, Joe Swan, okay, I guess we'll launch Joe Swan and move on to Dorita Coleman Williams,
Yes.
thank you. Kelly Wolf, Kelly Wolf,
Yes. And your tech people aren't letting off of the mute fast enough. I'm repeating it 3 times before you get one there.
We're doing our best here, looks like. We're just trying to figure this out together. All right, Don Johnson,
Yes.
Bill Hodge,
Yes.
Ashley, I see that Joe is back on and went.
Yeah, there.
okay.
Dorita, I'm gonna have to leave. I'm
I'm going to leave the meeting at this point. I just want to let you know.
Okay, thank you for advising us.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Gerald Parrish,
Yes. Yes.
Chuck Sherrill,
Yes.
Carol Van West,
Yes.
Ashley, this is Jeremy Harrell. You can count me as yes as well.
oh yes, Jeremy, I forgot. Thank you, Jeremy.
So that's, we've completed the roll call for that. Next on the agenda is the F Monument and Markers Committee. And we have Beverly Robertson to give us the report for the, Beverly, are you still giving the markers report?
Yes, I am.
Okay, okay. So if you would like to take it over from here, I will let you give your report, please. And there's, for the new commissioners, there's a packet of several pages in F1.
Yes, it was quite a list of
Beverly, may I interrupt for a minute?
Sure.
Since we do have new people, will you just tell us about those beautiful markers that we have all around the state of Tennessee so they can, I'm sure they're familiar with them, but so they can just start looking for them?
Yes. I really should give that responsibility to Keith because I'm chiming in on his behalf, but I will say that we have a series of markers that communities can apply for. There is a specific criteria that has been defined that would define the eligibility of a particular site to receive a marker. We assessed it probably a couple of years ago to still make sure it was still relevant. And I will say that one of the issues that we have to look at going forward as it relates to the markers would be the whole notion of how we will view churches and communities of faith, because we are receiving a lot of markers in that category. And I think at the last meeting, there was sufficient or significant discussion around that. We do have a lot of them here on this list, but it's an honor. Communities submit an application. Often they will pay for the marker to be established, and then they are placed in the specific sites. And many communities actually provide a really great historical overview of it. And it is so interesting to learn about the history of those specific places, those sites. And we're honored to be able to approve a series of markers to be located at the wishes of those communities based on the criteria. Is that sufficient, Dorita? Okay.
Thank you.
That was very helpful. Thank you, Beverly. I appreciate that.
Let me also extend my welcome to the new members of the commission. I don't know two of you, but I certainly look forward to getting to know you, but I certainly know Mr. Johnson. And I've known him for many years. I know he will be a tremendous asset to the commission, as will our other members as well. First of all, Dr. Norman, let me just say this. Please know I realize that you're chair of this committee, and I was simply pitch hitting for you because you were buried in COVID-19. And so I'm happy to pass that baton right back to you. I don't want you to think that I have it to stay. I'm going to pass it back to you after this particular meeting.
Well, hold it just a little bit longer, because for many of you, you may not know this, but COVID-19 officially hit Tennessee on March 7th with the one case that I was actually handling. But before that, we had been investigating and preparing for COVID since the 19th of December, and Cato can probably chime in there. So this pandemic has hit the hospital industry for about 7 to 8 months now, and we don't see an end in sight. So our meeting schedules are, every other hour on the hour. So thank you, Beverly, for a great job in standing in.
Well,
and Linda Ween as well. Linda kept me moving, and sometimes she slapped me on my hand. But thank you, Linda.
Very true. Well said.
Okay, well, I just want all the new members to know that, we do have a fearless leader. I will say that I've been on the commission for a little while. I have never had as many markers to review. There were 16 markers that, well, there were 13 that were submitted. There were 2 that were deferred from the February meeting. And then there was 1 that actually came in after the formal committee meetings were held, but we did send the content out to the committee for their review and for their revisions. The committee has approved, and I don't know if you've had a chance to read the markers. It's an impressive set of markers. And I'll just go down the list of, the names of the markers and the particular sites. Pathead Summit was from Cheatham County, and we voted as a committee yes on that. Morris Memorial Building, on the backside of that marker is historic information about the role Delta Sigma Theta sorority played. That's from Davidson County. We voted yes. Willow Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Giles County received a yes. Dr. Louis Edmondson from Giles County, a yes. Bethel United Methodist Church was a deferral from a previous meeting. I think they were asked to go back and provide more historical content. And we did get that content and voted yes. Trail of Tears, Cherokee Removal, Hardeman County, a yes. Speedway Circle, Knox County, yes. Mary Frances Housley, Knox County, received a yes. First Evangelical Lutheran Church USA, Knox County, yes. McReynolds High School, Marion County, yes. Caney Fork Baptist Church, Putnam County, yes. And then the Rose Terrace House was submitted by Senator Ken Yeager. And we actually reviewed that after the formal reviews of the other markers. But, and the staff actually made a few changes to that. And also members of the committee submitted their revisions to the marker. And I believe we integrated those and we voted yes to them. Benevolent Cemetery, Rutherford, yes.
Kimberly, this is Lucy. Can I
Yes,
interrupt just they may see that I had put in a revision for the Rose Terrace house, and then the staff had combined some of that. And so I'm happy with the staff recommendation on that one.
Thank you. I know we kind of went back and forth because it was after Lucy, we had a couple of meetings around these markers, and I appreciate the work of the committee. Thank you, Lucy, for that. Benevolent Cemetery, Rutherford County, yes. St. John Baptist Church was actually a one that had been deferred from a previous meeting because we needed to do a little work on that marker. And after the committee reviewed it and discussed it, it received a yes. That's from Shelby County. Benjamin Hooker, John Rice from Wilson County, a yes. Skirmishes on Rural Hill, Wilson County, a yes as well. What I would like to do is, one, ask if any members of the commission have any concerns about any of the markers that we have just reviewed.
Beverly, this is Ernie Bacon.
Yes.
I really appreciate the detailed work of everyone on these markers. I do have a question about process, because yesterday at 3:41 p.m., I received a revised F1 attachment for this agenda. And my point is, given that not all of the commission members receive, and I'm asking, did everybody get that transmission at 3:41 p.m. yesterday? Because there's some questions, in my mind at least, and that's why I'm posing this discussion, relative to the St. John Church discussion, as to which draft is being recommended to the commission.
Linda, can you comment on the revision that was sent yesterday?
If your question is about St. John, that was on the original memorandum that was sent out to the full commission. The one that was sent yesterday was sent to include the Rose Terrace house, which was inadvertently left off. And the Rose Terrace house is a marker that was proposed for the February meeting, and you asked for it to go back because they didn't have enough information about Howard Baker Sr. So that is the reason you received the email of yesterday.
Okay, so the email yesterday was particular to the Rose Terrace house.
Yeah.
Right. Prior to that, you had 15 markers on the mail out, the email. And I noticed that the Rose Terrace house was not on there. So we sent another copy to include that. And that marker was deferred from the February meeting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
Linda, will you tell, I know you're showing up as Ashley, but will you tell the new commissioners your role and the markers, since it's hard to follow? Will you just, because you're showing up as Ashley, I know you're on her computer, but will you just tell them your...
You need to change that to say historical commission.
Again, my name is Linda Wynn. I am the Assistant Director for State Programs. I work with the Markers Program, but I'm also involved in other programs of the Commission, and I am very much involved in the administrative process, from budgets to legislation to whatever may be necessary under the administrative realm. Just so you might know, I am a historian, and I also teach history at this university.
Thank you. I just thought your involvement is, how many years have you worked with the Markers and Monuments Committee? No, maybe I'm not asking you to put you on the line with that, but for many years, how's that?
Well, let's say I have been here a number of decades, and I am fast approaching the end of my tenure. And I will tell you, I have been affiliated with the Commission longer than anybody affiliated with the Commission, including Commission members.
I know the answer to that because I did research at FISC, so if anybody wants to know, $79 and I'll send it to you.
Well, I just knew that she had been working on the Markers, Monuments and Markers Committee ever since I've been on the commission.
What was, Dorita, just a question. Was the question asked sufficiently answered?
Commissioner Bacon, did you get...
Please repeat that question again.
I'm asking, was it answered? Your question
was your question answered adequately?
Yes, and I appreciate it.
Okay. Is there any...
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is Joanne Moore, and I have a question about St. John's Baptist Church. I submitted a revision to the text on that church because actually I do think that the text of the marker does not conform to the title of the marker. The title is St. John's Baptist Church, but the text goes into other things such as the Cotton Makers Jubilee. And so in view of that, even though I made a revision, I actually think that the marker is one that was deferred from the last meeting because it didn't have enough historical content. And I still feel that way. My motion would be to reject the marker because the text doesn't really have too much to do with the church. And so I make that motion to reject that marker.
Now, in my opinion of this marker is that it has about as much historically significant information as some of the other markers have had. In terms of the reference to the Cotton Makers Jubilee, I think that is really about the early minister of that church and some of the notable folks who actually went to that church. The Cotton Makers Jubilee was a historic undertaking and celebration in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I don't have a problem with that, but I mean, I'm happy for others to weigh in on that. And if there's a question about the significance of the Cotton Makers Jubilee, it actually, indeed, I look at Carol Van West's revision, it was an event of pride and protest against Jim Crow segregation. That is exactly what it was. And, you know, I was involved in, a long time ago, involved in understanding that history very clearly. So, Pastor Norman, if you have a comment.
I would also chime in the church history model. We've had many of these to come before our committee with respect to Ms. Moore, and we've also always had to deal with the idea of how much could be included because the marker only contains so much information. And what the church thought to be significant and of great importance was taken into consideration, which is what should be done, as well as from a historical commission perspective. The pastor of that particular church now, and then even historically going back to A. McEwen Williams and all of those who were there, these are very historic moments in Memphis, and also as a very significant part of the transformation of what the church's role in social justice became in this particular area. So I would suggest, I know we didn't get a second to that motion to reject it, so I would suggest that we go back to the first and proceed.
Madam Chair, this is Cato Johnson. Even though this is my first meeting, I am uniquely aware of the contributions that church has made in this community. Right. Knowing many of those members, knowing many of those individuals, having a brother who is a minister and who has well educated me about the history. The Cotton Makers Jubilee, I am totally familiar with, and what it did and the impact it had on this community. This is something that is unbelievably important to Memphis and Shelby County, not just to African Americans in Memphis and Shelby County, but to the entire community.
Madam Chairman, this is Carol Van West. I would like to respond to this discussion as well. As is typical, I often look over the markers very carefully. I think that's an important role that I can play. And I know in looking at this one, I have often considered St. John Missionary Baptist Church as being one of the important churches of Memphis and probably eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. So, of course, having worked on so many of these different places in Memphis for the National Register, I wanted to make sure that the text reflected that sort of greater social and cultural significance that that congregation has had on Memphis. I mean, it's a landmark there on Vance Street. It's been a landmark congregation for 150 years. So I looked over the revisions and thought that I would agree with my colleagues here that they were correct and adequately conveyed just some of the overall significance of this very important church in Memphis and in Tennessee history.
I'd like to speak to that too. This is Bill Lyons. Even though I'm an East Tennessee member, I grew up not all that far in Midtown Memphis and very familiar with the cotton, and by age with the Cotton Carnival and the Cotton Makers Jubilee. And I feel very strongly that this marker in the wording is appropriate and that it makes a very important statement. And I've spoken to I know some of the church members too, and feel very supportive of this marker being included and supported.
Okay, Madam Chair, how would you like to proceed on that? I think Pastor Norman suggested that we accept the Dr. Carol Van West version of the marker. There was no second to the motion. So I would like to recommend or make a motion that we receive all 16 of the markers and that they be voted on for approval.
Second.
Will you identify yourself? The second was by Sam Elliott.
This is by Sam, yes.
Okay. Ashley, did you record that? So we have a first and second.
I have a motion made from Beverly Robertson and Sam Elliott seconded.
Correct. So if there's no,
This is Doug Thompson to ask a question.
okay.
There's, in the package I received today, we've got the motion, the text, and we've got 2 revisions. Now, just what are we voting on?
I suggested that we accept.
I know this is, the question's not been called other than moved and seconded. It's time for discussion. I would like to say, I think they should go back and consider all these 3 revisions, and which one are we actually voting on?
I suggested that we accept the marker by Dr. Van West. That was what I recommended when I said when we would approve it, we would recommend acceptance of the revision by Dr. Carol Van West.
Okay, I just want to make sure what we were voting on.
Thank you.
I would like to amend that motion, please.
Will you please identify yourself?
Yes, this is Commissioner Moore, Joanne Moore. I would like to amend that motion for Dr. Van West revision to exclude the remarks that he has in parenthesis after the Cotton Makers Jubilee. He has that the Cotton Makers Jubilee, parenthesis, an event of pride and protest against Jim Crow segregation, parenthesis closed, be struck from that text of the marker. And have the marker accepted, approved, but with that exception. Simply leave that out.
This is Chuck Sherrill. I'd like to ask Joanne, is that because you don't think it's true?
I think we are getting into realms that we should not get into, and in my view, and I stated that in my revision, which I will withdraw my revision. The Cotton Makers Jubilee was a social organization in Memphis, in the Cotton Carnival, and it was important. I am not denying that. I simply don't think that the Cotton Makers Jubilee, it should have a marker of its own, but it doesn't truly pertain to St. John's Baptist Church. And then to have a remark that it was an event of pride and protest against Jim Crow segregation, I think just like all of those crews and societies in Memphis during the Cotton Carnival, they simply wanted to have a good time. I mean, that's what it was. It was just having a good time.
No, ma'am.
And no. So, that's what I think. I've been from this part of the country all my life. And so that is my opinion of it. And I don't think that anyone else would have other than an opinion. But I do think that this marker, this statement in parentheses is inappropriate. I truly do. And I don't think it should be on this marker. The church should have a marker. The Cotton Carnival should have a marker. But we should not get into something that actually is an opinion of with the state historian and also Linda Wynn.
Well, I think
this is Doris McMillan.
May I speak, please? I think there are 2 things that I would like to say with respect to the comments.
Commissioner Norman, will you just identify yourself since some people are on the phone? Thank you.
Dr. Keith Norman, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak with respect to those 2 comments. First of all, it definitely is a part of Southern history that African Americans from New Orleans to Mobile to Memphis and all throughout the South begin to form carnivals and all types of parades and jubilees as a response to the lack of inclusion, as well as protest against what was taking place in the larger community around them. When you study the history of the golf courses, even here in Memphis, there was one that had its own opportunity for socializing and recognizing its young people and children and awarding scholarships. So the Cotton Makers Jubilee did grow out as a rebellious overtone in protest to that. Secondly to that, this does not preclude in any way the Cotton Makers Jubilee from having its own marker. This is simply a parenthesis within the context of the church history. And out of many churches, there are movements and there are capsulized moments that need to be historically captioned. And I think this is just one that associates itself with that. So I think that those comments should remain.
Well, I will add this too, since we're going into the history of the Cotton Makers Jubilee. Originally, the Cotton Carnival was called Mardi Gras. And if I'm not mistaken, it was established in about 1872. And at that point, and I'm referring to the lady that's in charge of the Cotton Exchange Museum in Memphis, both races participated in that. Now, that original Mardi Gras ran for several years, and then it stopped because of the yellow fever epidemic. And so there were both races participated originally. And I still maintain that for the most part, the Cotton Carnival and the original Mardi Gras celebration were established to highlight the cotton industry and also to have a good time. And it just seems a shame to me that we have to bring up on a marker something that is simply, it's a different opinion and a different way of putting what all of this is about.
So,
and again, the Cotton Makers Jubilee does not truly have anything directly to pertain to St. John's Baptist Church.
So, Madam Chair, I think we should limit our comments, and I'm going to be the first to limit myself to no more than 3 minutes rebuttal. But after this is Keith Norman again. Absolutely right. They all began as Mardi Gras. They did cease, or this one did have interruption in 1872. But let's be clear. Participation for African Americans within these types of events were not equitable. And so the outgrowth and the after yellow fever response was to have our own. And it was in protest to having been the support of the cotton industry, having been the support of the infrastructure, but not as equal participants. And the church's pride and its identity with that should be included and encapsulated. We should not redact history nor try to clean it up at this point. Let's just move forward with it as it's written.
There's one other commissioner that's having trouble unmuting. I just got a text. If Gerald Parrish is wanting to speak, Harrison.
Yeah, this is Gerald Parrish.
Thank you.
Good morning. I do have a question, really. I'm sort of confused. Are we actually voting on the first paragraph or Dr. Van West's revision paragraph? That's the thing that I'm trying to figure out, which one of these that we're going to actually vote for.
We recommended the Dr. Carol Van West paragraph.
Madam Chairman, this is Sam Elliott.
Yes.
I would suggest to the chair and to the members of the commission that unless there is a second to Commissioner Moore's amendment, then it fails and we should proceed with the vote. And I would call the question on that.
Okay, thank you. Ashley, did you get that? That was Sam calling in. So we have a first and second to the motion. Beverly, do you just mind stating them, since now there's been enough discussion again, so everybody understands the motion?
Yes, I move that we approve all 16 of the markers as they are indicated in the document that was submitted by Linda Wynn.
Including the Carol Van West revision for the St. John Baptist Church
marker. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have the motion has been made and seconded. So at this time, we will move forward with voting. Ashley, by roll call.
And the second again was just trying to keep up.
Say that again, Ashley. I had trouble understanding you. I think you asked, it was made by, the motion was made by Beverly Robertson and seconded by Commissioner Sam Elliott.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. All right, roll call again. Ernie Bacon,
Yes.
Beth Campbell,
Yes.
Helen Carter,
Yes.
Jack Couple, Jack Couple,
Yes.
Ken Dollar,
Yes.
Sam Elliott,
Yes.
Lonnie Harris,
Yes.
Toy Heath,
Yes.
Jeremy Harrell,
Yes.
Cato Johnson, Cato Johnson. Did we lose him?
No, no, he's unmuted now, I believe. Mr. Johnson.
Cato Johnson. I'll come back to him. Connie Jones,
Yes.
Lucy Lee,
Yes.
William Lyons,
Yes.
Doris McMillan,
Yes.
Linda Moss Lyons, Linda Moss Lyons. Yeah,
Oh, she's on now, Ashley.
Yes.
thank you. Joanne Cullen Moore,
Yes, except for the St. John's Church with Dr. West revision.
Did you?
yes, okay. Keith Norman,
Yes, my soul says yes.
Beverly Roberts,
Yes.
Ray Smith,
Yes.
Rita Coleman Williams,
Yes.
Kelly Wolf,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Phil Hodge,
Yes.
Gerald Parrish,
The committee for all the hard work they done. Yes.
Great.
yes,
That was a yes,
Cheryl?
Ashley.
thank you. Okay, Chuck Sherrill,
Yes.
Carol Van West,
Yes.
Now,
Thank you.
Ashley, can you go back? Mr. Johnson is there. Can you go back to him at this
Peter
point?
Johnson.
I think there's
Kirsten, can you
just,
help us unmute him?
I think he's, Mr. Johnson, can you hear us?
He just texted me and said yes.
Okay. I think he can speak now. For some reason, I see him talking, but I can't hear him. Can anyone else hear?
No. Okay. So, but we'll go ahead and take that.
Oh, wait.
Please
I
say
think
yes.
I think we just had Mr. Johnson's voice.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Johnson.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, yes, Commissioner Robertson.
I'd like to express our appreciation to Linda Wynn for her vigilance, really, and dedication to the Monuments and Markers Committee. This is a lot of work, and the staff does a really super job of doing this work. And I also would like to express my gratitude to the committee members who were so vigilant about submitting changes and revisions to the markers. So I really appreciate that. And today I duly pass back the responsibility of chairing this committee back to Dr. Norman.
Dr. Norman, I have your back. Don't worry.
We will, and thank you, Beverly. We will have time to do it. And I want to say this, though, it will be very important that the members of the committee be given space to do the work in committee, and then bring it to the board in a timely manner, so that the board can then respond. Because when they get in on the front side of the committee work, it makes it harder and longer to get it done.
This is Lucy. I thank Beverly for her dedication in getting this renegade group together. And
now, Lucy, remember we're on. We can't start describing ourselves in any way but a good way, since we're.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy, that was a nice word, Lucy.
Well said.
That would be it. But I do thank Beverly for filling in, and she did an excellent job.
Thank you.
This is Linda Wynn. I would like to say something. I think I get those marker proposals out to you all probably almost a month before the meeting. And it, of course, is up to the chair or whoever is going to convene the committee to set the date.
Oh no, Linda, you do a perfect job. It wasn't you that I was speaking of. Let me clarify
okay,
that.
I just want to be sure, because I know I work hard to get it out to you way before time.
You do better than good. Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
This is Linda Moss-Mines, and I just want to express my appreciation to the committee for their hard work to reflect an accurate picture of our Tennessee history as they are looking and creating these markers. So thank you to each of the individual members. I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
And those of you that are not on the committee do not understand, there is this bound